Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, welcome back. We're on episode 15. I think I got the numbers wrong last week, but potentially, we're definitely on episode 15. And I feel like it's been a minute since it's just been me and you. Everybody's been invading our space, I think.
I know.
We need to catch up. So what's going on?
Well, there was definitely too much of Chris last time, so we need to make sure that doesn't happen for another couple of years.
Some people have requested a second Chris episode.
No, that's not happening. Not for at least another 2 years or so. I thought it was a good podcast. No, things are going great. Just getting ready for Thanksgiving over here in the States. So I got some turkeys I'm gonna be smoking, and some ham, and getting all the good stuff. And obviously a good conversation there is, and I'm gonna stay within my calories. I'm just gonna eat a lot more meats than I am all the other junk that's out there, and stick to it. So again, things are going great on my end, man. Can't complain. Training's really good. I just started my new training program.
How is it?
It's good. Good. You're gonna laugh when I send you yesterday's, because I added 3 more exercises to it. I'm like,
do we have
this
that
isn't
as
enough.
a live document that I can see? Can you set that up?
Yeah, I can set that up. Yeah, I'll put it up as a Google Doc.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So,
but it's going good. Like no complaints.
No,
Except for the fact that you cracking up at me before we hit start there that you haven't lost 20 pounds in the first week you're cutting. It's bullshit.
Well, if you look at my average, it's actually lower this week than it was last week. So it is obviously working. It just takes time. I know. I can't believe I haven't dropped 20 pounds in a week, but
it hasn't even
total bullshit.
It's only been 5 days.
Yeah, that's a lot of time, man. That's a lot of time. I should have a visible six pack. I should look like Arnold. I don't know why this
The whole
isn't working.
thing's bullshit. It's not working.
No, training's good though. Definitely strong.
Good.
How about you? What's up with you, man?
All is good here. It's my birthday this week. It's my brother's birthday this week. Going to London. All is good. Like, I don't have any complaints. I've had some really cool conversations with some really cool people. And one thing that I'll point out, that a couple of people have said that, I get down to the, like, right, what's the goal? And 2 people this week have said to me, well, I want to look good naked. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, that is everybody's goal, but nobody's willing to just be so open and admit it. So, all's good here. I mean, plenty going on in terms of clients, the group, everything. Like, I have absolutely zero complaints. Everything's good.
Yeah, 2 days to your birthday, huh? It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never mind. You'll find out soon enough. But
I don't even know if I want to know. Judging by your Chris's conversation, I don't want to know.
Sent you 700 hazmat suits internationally. But there's something to be said about that, though. The whole naked thing, right? For me, it's obviously, I always say I always want to look great with my shirt off, right? And that's a whole, confidence thing that I think I've never had my entire life. So I think building up to that and doing that and having, the right amount of strength and leanness and everything else all comes together in that type of importance. So that's my goal. And keep on trucking, keep on building muscle every day.
Yeah. I also got my new Oura ring.
How do you like it? So you wear it on your index finger?
Yeah, so I got a bigger size so I can wear it on my index finger. And one thing I'll point out is it came 2 days early and not 1,157 weeks late. Like
I got mine early. I got my Whoop band early.
You probably went to Whoop to pick it up. No, but actually, genuinely, I'm very impressed with the upgrades. Like I went for the stealth option, and it's just much nicer. There's a lot of upgrades and new features on the app and stuff. So I've also only had it on for 24 hours, but all in all, I'm happy with it. Good choice. Good job. Well done.
Yeah, the thing that I would love to try an Aura, to get rid of the little band you have here, but the only issue I have is, like, I like the always on charging that you get with Whoop. So, it's like always charging. And the second piece is that I would like to see my workout activity as I'm doing my weights, and if I'm lifting weights, I got to take it off. So those are my only 2 stipulations on it.
Well, so I have the charger sat here in front of me, and I literally put it on for an hour. So it's a 7-day battery life, and then it just literally sits. So if I'm stood here doing work, the charger's just like that, and I just literally plug it in, so it's not going to miss much activity of me just stood here.
Yeah.
And yeah, the workout thing, I get it. But I don't think I use this for that information. Do you know what I mean? Like I use it for heart rate variability, sleep, all those sort of things. So,
and to be perfectly honest with you too, I mean, the workout that you get when you're doing, resistance training isn't going to be something like you're seeing a massive spike in heart rate, unless you're, doing more, cardio type training, max interval training or stuff like that. But, like for me, like obviously I use it at Orange Theory when I'm doing my cardio. That's beneficial. I'd be able to use it for that. And then, weight training, I'd have to take it off. So maybe I'll get it too, just to try both of them at the same time.
I still have that $50 off discount code. If you want that, I'll send it to you. Definitely get the stealth one though.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So anyway, I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health. So today, I want to say we have a plan. Whether we stick to it or not, I don't know. But one of the biggest struggles that I see when I'm speaking to clients, whether it's on board or whether it's down the line, and probably something that we've spoken about in terms of the industry and everything, is sleep. Everybody's sleep is shit. People struggle to get to sleep. They struggle to stay to sleep. They struggle to wake up. They have no energy, and it all comes down to sleep. So today I just wanted to sort of talk a bit about sleep.
I think that's a great idea. You look at our industry, you look at, how much sleep I used to get. I'd average 2, 3, 4 hours max, every single day. And, what's interesting is I never realized how important sleep was to me, especially from a recovery perspective, my well-being, my health, my mental clarity. I mean, it all is tied together. And there's a lot of studies on the benefits of sleep. Like, for example, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like, what's the optimal sleep range? There's a new study that came out that showed people that had, 4.5 hours or less of sleep had substantial cognitive decline, and people that had over 6.5 hours also had cognitive decline, which is kind of interesting. So it sounds like the sweet spot of range for human beings, and I'm sure this isn't a one size fits all, but is about 6.5 hours of sleep seems to be the magic number, at least as of right now, for science. But then there's a lot of, they're still trying to, I think the science is still out of why that is, but it looks like when you're sleeping, your brain kind of detoxifies and, gets rid of a lot of the things that can cause, like, some cognitive decline, issues. And if you don't get enough sleep, it doesn't have enough time to clean your system up, clean your body up, your body doesn't recover appropriately. And so there's a lot of major issues that you'll start to see later in life if you don't, get a decent average of sleep per day.
Yeah, I think I obviously did a bit of research for this, and, there's so much that goes on whenever you're sleeping, and the overall sort of outlook that I can see on it, it's almost as if like a bit of a system reset every single day for your body. And I just want to sort of start with like the stages of sleep, because, obviously we just don't go to sleep and that's it. So your sleep can be categorized into two sort of main sections: non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement. The non-rapid eye movement can then be further subcategorized into, I think they just label them levels 1 to 4. Like, it's not in any way exciting or any exciting names, and it just literally goes awake to light sleep, and then 3 and 4 are deep sleep. And obviously the sort of deeper you get into it, the more of the effects that you're getting from it. And then you move into the rapid eye movement sleep. Whenever I was doing the research earlier on, a lot of the things it was talking about was the sleep cycle. So it's not just that you're in the non-REM sleep and the REM sleep. Your sleep cycles in 90-minute cycles. And the interesting thing that I actually found out was that it's not always the same ratio of each. So in the sort of first half of the night, you get more of the sort of levels 3 and 4 of your non-rapid eye movement sleep. And then in the second half of your sleeping night, you get more rapid eye movement sleep in terms of the ratio. So I found it interesting that, okay, it's the 90-minute cycles, but also you get more of a ratio of each depending on how many of those cycles you get. Which sort of leads me back to, if you're saying, 6.5 hours, obviously that's 4 90-minute cycles and a bit. So I guess, if you sort of base it on that, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of sort of what happens as you move through those, and if you think about it, like while you're actually sleeping, it makes a lot of sense. So sort of going through the non-REM sleep in terms of level 1 to level 4, you're going to see, your heart rate slow down, your body temperature should decline, which I think is a good point that we'll touch on. I guess we'll talk about Andrew Huberman in that section. And we start to see your brain waves and your brain activity actually slow down. And then moving from that sort of 3 to 4, we see brain activity actually start to increase, which is obviously what we were talking about there in terms of like what actually happens from a reset perspective and things like that.
I was on mute. I think when you look at sleep as a whole, there's a lot of things we can do to optimize our sleep. Now, obviously, there's sleep disorders. There are people that have struggled with sleeping. So, that is something that I think would be out of the spectrum of realm of what we should be discussing, obviously, from like a medical perspective. If you have sleep disorders, things like that, there are things that you can try to take to help you get to sleep. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I would heavily recommend, speaking with your doctor, to get appropriate sleep. What we're talking about here is, making a conscious decision to sleep appropriately and get enough sleep throughout the day. And that's a struggle for me too. There are days where, I might go play video games until midnight and I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get a workout in, right? And I recognize those days. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get, real shit sleep today. And it's just going to be a bad day, but I don't try to make that a habit at all. My habit is trying to get at least 6 hours of sleep at a very bare minimum, but mostly in the 7 to 7.5 hour range is typically where I've been at. I'll probably cut that down to 6.5 and see how I adjust to that based on the latest research. Because of science. Damn science always messes with my sleep.
One thing that I will say is, like, in full disclosure, like, my sleep is shit, like, really, really bad. And it's not something that I ever have struggled with, but within the sort of past maybe year or so, it's something I've really started to focus on, and it hasn't been good. Whether it's the amount or whether it's the quality, it just hasn't been good, and it's something that I have actually really actively tried to improve. So I sort of want to give a couple of, we can do this later on, that of actionable tips in terms of like how to actually improve it without even looking at the supplements or things to take, like things that you can, actionable tips to go and do to help improve sleep.
Yeah, I agree. There's some things that I've done too as well to help optimize my sleep, and it's not necessarily from a supplement perspective. I found that first of all, I'm a cold baby, and Ben knows this. I am a little baby when it comes to cold. Like, literally, I hate cold everything. I live in Ohio, which makes no sense whatsoever. It's like literally 32 degrees outside right now. It's going to snow later. But anyways, for me, like, I understand the benefits of cold showers. I will not take cold showers. Even though I'm here to optimize my life and optimize myself, I will not take cold showers. And
okay, so this is actually a good point. So
yeah.
It was the Huberman's Lab podcast, I think. And he said about this, okay, so the idea of getting to sleep, you want your body temperature to be lower. And I actually looked it up earlier on. You want it to be between 2 and 3 degrees Fahrenheit. I had to actually do the conversion for you. In terms of your body, like your core temperature, lower to actually get to sleep. And my initial thought would that be, okay, if I'm too warm, I'll go and have a cold shower, and that will cool me down and I'll get to go to sleep. But the study actually shows, and what Andrew Huberman says is, if you have a really warm shower or a really, really hot bath, what that does is it heats up your core, and then your body tries to dump the heat. So your body will dump the heat through the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and your forehead. And then that lowers your core temperature a lot quicker.
Do you know why it's your forehead, your palms, and your feet? Do you know why
I
those three things?
I do. The podcast.
You should have the podcast. But what's interesting about that is there's a lot of new research out right now around optimizing performance, and there's 3 spots in our bodies that don't have hair: the palms of our hands, the bottoms of our feet, and the tops of our foreheads are the 3 areas that literally don't have any capacity to grow hair. And so those are where we actually dump the majority of our heat from. So if you're trying to cool yourself down really quickly and you're overheating, applying cold to the palms of your hands, to the bottom of your feet and the top of your forehead will drastically cool you down faster than anything else. You always hear, put it on your head. Well, it's actually your forehead that is, in different areas. And they're coming out with a new product called the Cool Mitt, which they did a lot of scientific research off of, I think it was out of Stanford, and they showed that when you put your hands in a cooling type of solution, not freezing but cooling, that you during workouts, like for example, if I just did one major set and I put my hands in a cooling environment, it would also increase your performance substantially, like 50%. It was a major difference in performance. And it makes sense because, when we're burning on our muscles, it's actually increasing the temperature of our muscles and overheating, our muscles to where they become fatigued or exhausted. And so by cooling them down, you're giving your muscles a better opportunity to be able to perform in some way, shape, or form. It's the same thing for when you're trying to cool yourself down at night. I ended up investing in, it's called the Coolie system, the Uller, the Chili Uller is what I have. The Chili Pad Uller is what I have, and it's UV light and water, and it's a pad that goes over your bed, and I keep it on the lowest temperature possible. And when you first get into bed, it's a little bit chilly. It's not terrible, but you have your blankets over the top of you, so you feel like you're still kind of warm, but it drops your body temperature down substantially and keeps that body temperature all night. And what's a really cool feature with that is it's smartphone connected, is you can set a wake up time. So I'll set a wake up time of, let's just say if I'm waking up at 7 a.m., I set it for 6 a.m., which starts to gradually increase the temperature, which gets my body ready to go and for me to wake up literally at 7 o'clock, and I feel refreshed just like that. And I've noticed by calculating, my recovery on Whoop, I've had a much better recovery almost every single night. I've incorporated that into it, and I've also had a much deeper sleep by doing that as well. So that's really helped me out on the sleep aspect of things and really made a big difference for me.
That's cool. Like, I didn't know it had that feature in terms of waking you up like that. That's super cool. For me, I absolutely love the cold. Like, whenever you get into bed, cold duvet, cold pillow, window open, everything's cold. And I think the sort of point to note about that is, obviously, if you go through the night and your body starts to heat up, wake up in the middle of the night, leg out the side of the duvet. Obviously, that's the sole of your feet that you're trying to sort of dump the heat. So it all makes sense if you think about actually what's going on. One of the points that I wanted to note was actually about the temperature of the room. And again, as an optimal, they say that you want to have your bedroom temperature at 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is enough for you to sort of lower your natural body temperature and get over to sleep and stay asleep. Temperature of the room is one aspect in terms of what you can do to improve the quantity and the quality of your sleep.
Yeah, I think the general estimated range of what is the ideal temperature is between 60 degrees and 67, I think was the temperature. But I think everybody's kind of set on the 62, 63 degree range. It seems to be kind of like the sweet spot for a lot of people. So lowering the temperature at night and keeping your body at a lower temperature helps recovery, helps your body recover faster, helps you sleep better. There's a lot of perks to that versus keeping it warm. And that's actually the exact opposite of what I used to do. I was a freeze baby. So I literally would turn my heated blanket on in the summertime. I'd have, 3 layers of sheets up, and I'd have it completely covered over my head. I'm just the type of person that loves to be warm. And so I've switched that routine quite a bit. I still will not take cold showers. F those things. But I will.
You did for 3 days.
I tried for 3 days and I can't do it anymore. I gave up on it. There's a lot of things I'll do. Cold showers, just screw them where they came from. They're awful.
There is actually something. I think I took a screenshot of it. I saw it on an Instagram ad or something, and it's in relation to what you're saying about the sort of cool pads in the recovery. I'll send it to you once we finish up here, but that sort of playing about or being able to play about with temperature in terms of what you actually need. Obviously, you do it from a sauna perspective and things like that. So there's so many different things you can do just simply from controlling your own temperature.
Yeah, I do a sauna every night. At least I try to do it every night. I do it at least 4 times a week. I just did it yesterday. I had to cut it short because I forgot I was supposed to be at a location at 7 o'clock. So I'm in my sauna at 7:15. I get a text message from a buddy like, "Hey, where are you at? Aren't you supposed to be here with your kid?" And I'm like, ah, crap. So I had to get out of the sauna early. I only got 15 minutes in versus 30. But I need to clear my schedule up a little bit more. But saunas for me have been a really good one. There are actual cheap saunas that you can get online. I think they range from $200 to $300. And I know that's not cheap in comparison. That's a lot of money to spend on something. But they're basically pop-up saunas that are these little domes basically that you can fit in a very small location. And I have one of those, and I also ended up investing in a pretty big sauna for my gym. And the portable saunas were fantastic. They're infrared saunas. Like I said, you can pop them up. It takes about 20 minutes to heat up. You get in there for a half hour, do that 3 or 4 times a day. Has some major benefits on testosterone production. Human growth hormone production is through the roof. So your recovery ends up being a lot better. Your blood flow activity, everything, shoots up. But also a lot of good data on doing it at night, which helps relax you as you're going to bed. So I do a sauna usually at night, or I kind of interchange between sauna and hot tub during the night times to kind of relax me, soothe my muscles. And then from there, kind of, hit the sack. And I'll tell you, nights that I do a sauna or nights that I do a hot tub, I fall instantly asleep. Like boom, lights out, cold, no tossing and turning, anything like that. I am out cold.
Yeah, and since it's funny you mentioned that, like, obviously we have both hurt our backs recently that we'll not get into.
By the way, I got to tell you a story about that really quick. Not to interrupt, but I did dry needling yesterday.
Right.
To help with, some of the pain. That is the worst effing thing I think I've done in a very, very long time. Like, that is not fun. They put 5 needles in each side of my hips, like literally right in your hip bone area. And they're these long ass needles. They're super thin, but they're long ass needles. And I actually screamed. I was like, "Ha!" And everybody starts laughing over the side of there because she's like, "Yep, I got a good spot there." I'm like, "Okay, ha!" It was like it hurt so bad. And then I had to flip around. So they did that for 10 minutes, and they put these electrodes on me to pulsate the muscles and kind of release the pressure from the muscles. And then they did it on my back, and I was doing so good. So I got to like the 7th or 8th needle. And then the 9th one, I'm like, ha! So it was not a good experience for me. But I will tell you, before, so if I was laying flat on my stomach and I lifted my left leg was substantially weaker than my right. After I finished with it, my left leg substantially was just as strong as my right leg. So, it did release a lot of the pressure and the tension within the muscles. The muscles were much more relaxed versus being super tight. So I'm like 95% recovered from that, thank God. But I'm kind of taking it easy still. But by taking it easy, I'm going to be hitting legs today. I did back yesterday, which she's like, make sure you don't do back. I'm like, got it. I went home like literally 30 minutes later and did back. And
so it's not me, the only one that you do the opposite of what you're asked. You're like, okay.
I have a problem with authority. Ben. So
anyway, so obviously, as I said, hurt our backs, whatever. But one thing that I started to do was I was getting a hot bath, just to sort of try and relax it, ease the pain and whatever else. And I noticed the same thing. Like, as soon as I got into bed, I was asleep. And I was like, okay, right, well, this can be a thing. Like, I struggle with sleep. If I need to get a bath before I go to bed, then absolutely. So, again, a pretty easy tip. Doesn't cost you anything. Get a warm bath before you go to bed. Definitely will help you sleep. But yeah, I noticed a vast improvement in terms of my sleep. Like you said, asleep right away, asleep for longer, better quality of sleep and things like that. One thing I actually came across as well whenever I was reading earlier on was about what you should do if you can't get to sleep. And this is something that I sucked at because I would just lie in bed and think about everything and just lie there and not sleep, or think about every single way that I can get to sleep. And what they sort of suggest is, if you can't get to sleep after like 20, 25 minutes, or if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't get to sleep again for 20, 25 minutes, they say to get up and go and do something else. Because your brain has this thing where it will, it associates different things with different things. So if you get to the stage where your bed is a place that you're restless and you can't sleep, your brain will then begin to associate that with it. So if you're going to bed and you're scrolling on your phone or whatever it is that you're doing that you can't sleep, then that's what your mind will think whenever you go to that. So if you could take yourself out of the situation, go and do something else to tire you out, and then whenever you're tired again, come back to bed and actually go to sleep then, and sort of try and rewire yourself to think, okay, right, well, this is where I go to sleep. This is what this is for.
Yeah, it's amazing the different types of things you can do to kind of hack your sleep to get better at it. Right now, again, I'm not talking sleep disorders where you have major issues and you're on a CPAP or whatever. Those things obviously need to be diagnosed by a doctor, but there are definitely things that you can do to improve sleep. So, getting into the supplements discussion, which I think is important, is there's a lot of supplements out there, and one of the default ones that everybody goes to is melatonin. And I am so against melatonin in every way, shape, or form. In very small capacities and not used very often, it's fine. But long-term use of melatonin is not good for you. It's not good for your sleep. There's studies in mice right now that they're converting into humans where mice had a substantially in mice when they pumped melatonin into them, had their testicles shrink by 70%. I don't want that happening to me personally. So, and again, that correlates directly into humans. A lot of things in mice happen in humans, but a lot of things that happen in mice don't happen in humans. So, a lot of these medical studies are very difficult to come through because there are a lot of variations that occur in human life. So to get real true controlled studies becomes really difficult. But melatonin is not great. Your body produces a very small amount of melatonin per day. I think it's like 2 milligrams or 2 grams a day is what your body produces from a melatonin perspective. And some of these folks are taking 5, 10, 15, 20 milligrams or grams of I think it's milligrams of melatonin. So keep an eye on melatonin usage and dependency on melatonin usage for sleep. It can have some major impact on you long term. And I noticed this with me is I used to take this stuff that was called Alpha Lion Sleep. It was like the Alpha Lion Sleep brand of it. And this, for me, worked very well at first. I started taking it, and it has some combinations of magnesium, which is fantastic for sleep, by the way. We'll talk about that. It has, like a bunch of other things in it, but it has a lot of melatonin. And so, I started taking that, and then eventually I started noticing I'd get restless sleep after a few weeks of using it, consistently as things were going along. As soon as I cut it out, it took a couple of days to kind of wean off of it, started getting back to normal sleep again. So, be very careful with melatonin. It's one of those things that's being kind of touted as like a sleep aid, but long-term usage of it, definitely not something I would recommend.
Yeah, I actually had, again, no experience because I never struggled to sleep. I had no experience with melatonin up till probably about this time last year. And I find that there was a very fine line with me of it, like to the point that, so I just went by whatever the dropper was. I think it was 3 milligrams. If I took a full one, I woke up like I had a fucking hangover. Like I was absolutely useless. Half one was just about exactly where I needed to be, and I got a decent night's sleep. But again, after a bit more research and Andrew Hubbleman, of course, sort of coming back from it and actually finding other ways to improve sleep that aren't necessarily supplement based, and like just things that you can do day to day to sort of manage your sleep if you think about your sort of body in that sort of 24-hour cycle, without even having to look at supplements. But yeah, melatonin I have taken out. I do use other sleep supplements, but no longer melatonin.
Yeah, so my protocol at night, I switched around a little bit, surprise. But I do, so I take the Animal Pack PM, so the Animal Pack PAK PM, it's infused with essential amino acids that are slower digesting, so you have, ample ways to build muscle as you're sleeping at night. But it also has L-theanine, and when you combine L-theanine and GABA, there's a research paper that was released out of the Taylor Francis Online Medical Studies, which shows GABA and L-theanine mixed together allows you to sleep faster and improves REM sleep substantially. So those two combinations of GABA, which GABA is basically an inhibitor for neurotransmitters that GABA basically favors for sleep. And so you're basically telling your body, hey, go to sleep. It relaxes. It's calming. No long-term side effects. Those types of things. So, the two things that I would heavily recommend if you just decide to take 2 supplements would be L-theanine and GABA together, about 30 minutes before you go to bed at night. It's substantially better for you. I have a lot more restful sleep with it. I also take magnesium L-theanate, and that is it bypasses what's called the blood-brain barrier, which probably sounds horrible, but your body uses magnesium to transmit. It also has calming effects. Magnesium is absolutely fantastic for your body. It's also been shown to help calmness of your brain as well as soothing. And then I use apigenin as well. I use the Swanson brand for that. There's a study on apigenin on sleep. Basically, this study's only been done in mice. So apigenin has a lot of really good healthy prostate and liver promotion for that as well. But from a mice study perspective, it showed that by taking apigenin, it helped you with your REM and your longevity of your sleep and sleeping faster as well. So I take a combination of the Animal Pack PM, the magnesium L-theanate, apigenin, and then GABA before I go, about 30 minutes before I go to bed. And I notice a major difference with that. Now, I also say L-theanine. Animal Pack has L-theanine based in it, so I'm already getting the L-theanine for that pack with everything else. So that's kind of my stack at night that I use to go to sleep, and I found a lot of success with that.
Yeah, I think for anybody who's listening and is thinking about going down the line of supplements, you need to understand where your struggle is with sleep. Is it a case of you struggle to get to sleep? Is it a case of you struggle to stay asleep? Is it a case of you have restless sleep? Is it a case of you only have a short amount of sleep? Is it the quality of sleep? Is it how deep you're sleeping? Once you understand that first, then you can start looking at, okay, what do I need to supplement with? Because each thing's going to provide a different outcome. Do you know what I mean? It's a case of, one thing will help you get to sleep, one thing will help you stay asleep. So understand where your struggle is first before you just start piling up the supplements. Obviously, you have done that and you've refined it and you know exactly what you need to do. So, that's exactly what I'm trying to sort of get everybody else to do. I think probably one thing to note on this is beyond actually just, before you go to sleep is that probably, I don't know, it's a bit of a curse word actually talking about it in this, but in terms of caffeine and how that affects your sleep, and Matt actually touched on it. I know, but it's like 12 o'clock in the day over there. If I was drinking caffeine, then there would be an issue. It's like 5:30. But yeah, Matt touched on it on the podcast last week whenever he said that, there are those types of people. And, potentially I could be one of those people that could say, I could have a cup of coffee in the evening and go to bed, no problem, and sleep, no problem, which I probably could. And 9 times out of 10, the people who say that they can. But what the issue then becomes, or where the issue lies on that, is the quality of the sleep that you're getting. So again, Matt mentioned the half-life of caffeine on the podcast last week. From the research that I did today, the half-life of caffeine is anywhere between 5 to 6 hours, which also gives it a quarter life of between 10 and 12 hours. So that means that caffeine that you're drinking right now, quarter of that amount of caffeine could still be in your system at midnight because of the way that it affects your body. Which is probably fine. Like a quarter of it's obviously fine, but in terms of like the impact that can have in your body, the amount of caffeine that you're having, what that does to you throughout the day and things like that. So a sort of first protocol for that would be, and I recommend this to everybody's heard it, me talking about it in the group calls or individually, whatever it is, to limit your caffeine. I say 2 p.m, but that should be the maximum cutoff point, because if you think about then again the half-life of it, that's going to take you to 8 p.m. and you want to start to think about winding down and everything, sort of get yourself ready for sleep. Another point to note on that is things that people potentially use that they think helps them get to sleep. Things like alcohol, things like marijuana, that they think, okay, right, I can take this and it'll help me, I'll be drowsy, I'll get to sleep, and whatever else. Again, from the research that I did today, they don't help you get to sleep. They basically just knock you out. So you don't get any of the benefits of actually sleeping, because all the processes that go on in your brain and your body don't actually happen, because it's almost like you're sedated, because, you go to bed and you're a bit drunk or you're a bit high or whatever else. So you don't get the same benefits of actually the processes that go on whenever you're asleep. So that was one thing that they recommended not to do. And you'll know yourself, like, this is why you have shit recovery whenever you have 2 hard seltzers at the weekend.
We were celebrating yesterday, opening of one of our new facilities, and I had 1 glass of bourbon, and my recovery should have been probably in the 60s or 70s, and it was 34% yesterday. I'm like, gosh, damn it. I should not have had that 1 bourbon. But it's interesting how these types of chemicals can interact with your body. Caffeine is an actual interesting one, because it blocks the A1 receptors in your body. So, it basically binds to what's called the A2A receptors, which, ultimately at the end of the day is messing up your internal clock. It's telling your, there's things that are released in your body that tell your body what time it is and when you're sleepy, when you're not, when you need to go to bed. So when you're drinking caffeine, it's blocking those. It's not shutting that production down, but when the chemical wears off, and most specifically, adenosine wears off in your body, it floods your body basically with, and that's where you get like the caffeine crash, and basically your body's saying, oh my God, it's like literally 1 o'clock in the morning. What happened? And then I need to shut down now and go to sleep. Right. So that clock effect has a big impact on everything that's going on. And caffeine is a great stimulant. I love caffeine. But as you mentioned,
big fans of caffeine. We're
big fans of
on
caffeine.
board.
Yeah, within reason. But it's one of those things where, if you're taking it late at night, I know there's a lot of people that'll say, well, hey, caffeine doesn't impact me. It absolutely does impact you, just in different ways. I know I can drink, a cup of coffee and I can take a 2-hour nap afterwards. But is that really good sleep that I'm getting at that point in time? Am I hitting REM sleep? Am I doing, things that, am I staying asleep longer? Usually the answer to that is going to be no. One thing I wanted to hit on the research on the whole GABA and L-theanine component, which I thought was kind of like mind blowing, is that when they combined GABA and L-theanine together, it had a decrease in sleep latency. So your ability to fall asleep decreased by 14.9%, which is huge. And then your increase in sleep duration increased by 26.8%. And then, you take when you take GABA and L-theanine together, the REM sleep was 99.6% efficient, and non-REM sleep was only 20.6% efficient. So, all of the different areas that you want to focus on, those two alone, I think, is kind of like the miracle sleep thing for me. Has really helped out a lot for me getting really good deep sleep and recovery, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, for sure. And, you're talking about REM sleep there and the quality of that sleep, and it sort of leads into 2 points. It's that sort of initial point that I was saying about how your sleep cycles run. And say, for example, you're in a pattern of you go to sleep at 10 o'clock and you wake up at 6 o'clock, but for some reason you need to get up at 4 a.m. So that you're missing that, you're missing technically 2 hours of sleep, but potentially you could be missing, up to 50% of the REM sleep that you get on the whole, because of the way that the ratios are split across your different sleep cycles. Just to touch on the REM sleep, what it actually does is, again, from the research that I did earlier on, it's what sort of gives you that mental and emotional restoration, for want of a better phrase. So if you've ever had a fucking shit show or had an issue or a problem or whatever it is, and people say sleep on it, that's technically what you're doing to sort of allow your body to calibrate in terms of process the information or whatever it needs to do to sort of bring you back down to a level of understanding or, whatever you need to do to solve or deal with the problem. A good point to note that you mentioned there a couple of times is your body's 24-hour clock, and the main thing that sort of kept coming up in terms of how to optimize your sleep and how to sort of hack your sleep was having set sleep times. So go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. And maybe that sounds totally ridiculous, and maybe we can't do it on a regular basis, but if you can get your body into the sort of habit and the routine as to this is what time it goes to sleep at, this is what time you wake up at, that in itself is going to, your body will know at that time, it will learn that this time it's go to sleep, this is what time I wake up at. So, from a quality and a quantity perspective, it's going to massively, massively improve.
Yeah, so your internal clock is what we call the circadian rhythm, and so your body keeps track of a 24-hour period, when you should be awake, when you should go to sleep. If you start staying awake during nights and you go to sleep during days, your circadian rhythm can change. But what's interesting is one of the Human Labs podcasts, I think it was something like 84% of our genes are based off of our circadian rhythm. So a huge component of our body, our DNA and how we're made up of, is based off of this internal clock. So if we're messing with that, there's obviously some major issues. But most recently, one of the earliest studies on muscle hypertrophy and muscle growth during the actual rebuild phase of things actually happens in a circadian rhythm earlier in the day. So in the mornings is typically when protein synthesis and your body starts to rebuild muscles. Its most effective way is in the mornings themselves, based off of your circadian rhythm. So, it's your internal clock that is managing a lot of these. And if your internal clock is jacked up from some way, shape, or form, it can definitely impact your sleep. One thing that I noticed, I used to always make the excuse that I was a night person, right? I'm just a night person. I go to bed late, I wake up late, and I hate waking up in the morning. I'll tell you, since I started focusing on my sleep, since I started focusing on my quality of sleep, I can wake up anytime and still feel pretty refreshed. Now, don't get me wrong. I still hate waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I can wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning now, or 6 o'clock in the morning, and be perfectly fine. I don't feel like I'm just dragging ass getting up. I'm like, whoop, I'm up. Okay, it's time to go. Let's get going. I'm still tired. I'm still waking up, but it's not like a fight with my body to get out of bed where I'm like, oh, I hit the snooze button 10 times. I'm literally, as soon as, a great example is this morning. I had orange theory this morning. I went to bed yesterday, I think at 11. So I got about 7.5 hours of sleep or so. And so my alarm was set for 7 a.m. to get up, and I have to, I do Orange Theory between 8:15 and 9:15, so I have to leave the house about 7:50. So by the time I take a shower and take my pre-workout, which also requires me to use the bathroom a couple times, make sure I do that there, not at Orange Theory. So I have to do my early morning ritual to get ready for a workout, and so I woke up this morning like basically ready to go at 6:30. Before the alarm even went off, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, I'm awake. This is awesome. I'll just kind of sit here and chill and kind of get myself up, and I just kind of sat there and I enjoyed the warmth that was starting to come in my body as my internal temperature started to increase. My circadian, rhythm was starting to move forward. As far as time goes, my dopamine was starting to increase. I was starting to get all of those things that happen naturally in our body because I had a good night's sleep and I was well rested and recovered from the day before. And I can tell you that process of understanding my body and how much sleep I actually need has really helped me out in my health, my career, every aspect, everything else. I tell you, we talk about the pillars of living a fit life or a better life that's focused on fitness. And the sleep piece of it, I think is one of the first things that we talked about on the whole lifestyle side of the house, because it's literally one of the most important aspects that you can do today. If you're not focusing on your sleep, everything else is just going to be jacked up. Your body's not going to recover. You're going to have kinks in your neck. Your muscles are going to be sore. You're going to hate waking up in the morning. Your brain fog is going to be taking in. All of those things are key components of not having good sleep. And I'd heavily recommend just investing some time into getting some sleep. And there are some people that are just freaks of nature. Like you look at Jocko. Jocko says, hey, I only get 4 hours of sleep a day. That's all I need. I'm like, okay, that's Jocko. I mean, Jocko is not human.
We're not here to argue with you, Jocko. If you want to get 4 hours of sleep, it's fine. It's okay.
Whatever Jocko says, Jocko goes. It's in scripture at that point. But learn your body, understand your body, what works for you. But I'd heavily recommend getting around 6.5 hours of sleep as your base.
I think it's a good point to note here that there's something you just said, and I'll relate it back to me. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I decided from 9 o'clock in the evening, no screen time, close my laptop, close the computer, sack the phone off, like just no TV, nothing, and actually set myself up for going to bed. I get into that routine. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. I try to get up between 4:45 and 5 every single day. And it got to the point after about 2 or 3 weeks that I, just as you said, like I was naturally waking up before my alarm. And actually a good point to note on that is I was listening to Matthew Walker earlier on about the snooze button. And he says, if you think about that response in terms of what that does to your body, if you think, whenever the alarm goes off, obviously it startles you, it'll raise your heart rate. It's that sort of fight or flight. If you're doing that 5, 6, 7 times in the morning, hitting the snooze button, it's going to fuck you up for the day. And if you think about what you just described there, you woke up naturally, you had dopamine, you were feeling good in bed, you were warm, you were happy, and you were ready to go for the day. Yeah. I can guarantee that that's literally the opposite of how everybody else is waking up that are stressed out. If you imagine you hit the snooze button a couple of times, wake up, you're stressed out, you're rushing because you've slept in and you need to grab everything to go. You're grabbing caffeine because you're not fully awake yet instead of hydrating your body. And it's always a stressor for the rest of the day. That's literally setting the tone for the rest of the day. Like if you wake up like that, your day is going to be a shit show. Whereas if you focus on your sleep first, focus on waking up naturally and, being in a much better place and a much more better environment to wake up, that is going to set the tone for your day. And I was talking to Gemma recently about it, and she was saying she is struggling to get up because it's obviously the darker mornings and stuff. And I was like, just try and get up slightly earlier and take 20, 30 minutes to yourself to chill the fuck out and work out what you need to do for the day, do whatever you need to do before you work out and things like that. That time, it's my favorite time of day. That's why I get up at 4:45, because the rest of the world's not awake. Generally, you guys are still awake, fucking in the chat, having conversations that we'll not go into. But,
she got a little weird one of those days, but yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up ordering a bottle of tequila. It's 6:30 in the morning. It's sat on the shelf over there. But yeah, I feel like that'll be an entirely different podcast. But anyway, yes, what I'm saying is, you literally set the tone for your day in the morning. So, if you are hitting the snooze button, whatever else, that's going to set the tone for your day. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be late and your day is going to be a shit show. Whereas if you can get up slightly earlier, chill the fuck out, gather your thoughts. And one thing I'm actually starting to do that I haven't done, only because whenever I wake up, obviously the chat's still going because of the time difference. One thing I'm going to start doing is not use my phone for the first hour, because there's a lot of studies in terms of that time from whenever you wake up, your body actually processing what went on whenever you're sleeping and things like that. You're losing a lot of that whenever you get into social media and whatever else you're looking at on your phone. So that's one goal I'm going to set myself from now.
Yeah, I have a tough time with that. I still use my phone at night, but I turn on the dark light mode. I have it automatically set to where once it hits, 7 or 8 p.m., it automatically dims and removes the white light. That's one of the biggest things. I have one of these mood lamps you told me about where it just, kicks me up in the morning. But I try to take as much white light out as possible because that increases dopamine production, which increases, your ability to stay awake, which you don't want to do, obviously, as you're going to sleep. So reducing white light or bright light is very important during those times of hour to kind of give your body time to start to, reduce its temperature as your circadian rhythm tells you it's time to go to sleep, and reducing the dopamine levels and everything else that goes along with that.
So it all has a good one. Darkness is a good one to sort of touch on in terms of like tips that you can do to help that. As you said, I have that set up both on my laptop and on my phone. I think mine just goes in time with the sunset and the sunrise. It starts to go like slightly more orange, so it's taking that blue light out of it. But if you can start to dim the lights in your house towards that time as well, obviously that's going to help towards it. Limit screen time before you go to bed, so no laptop, no TV. Like if you think of some of the fucking films and programs that people watch, it's like high stress, whether it's a fucking car chase
my
or
wife,
whatever.
Oh my god, she watches murder mysteries like 10 minutes before she's going to bed. She's like, I had such a horrible sleep last night. I'm like,
no shit.
I wonder why. Like you just saw like 10 people get murdered on TV, and then like the investigation for it.
And
I wouldn't be able to
turn the light off and you're going to go to sleep. That doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So the darkness thing, you can sort of set yourself up for that. So lower dim the lights in the house, look at lamps, whatever it is, an hour, 2 hours before you go to bed, but also the darkness of your room. So whether that's blackout blinds or whether you want to wear an eye mask, I can't do it. I did try. Laura recommended one, and I'm like, I can't. I feel like you're just like stuck to me like this.
Yeah, I can't do it.
But yeah, so darkness is something obviously that will help you as well. And actually, the darkness it promotes the release of your natural melatonin as well. So once you start to sort of get into that evening time, obviously, as we said, your body produces melatonin itself, and it will promote that release of it. So it's telling your body, right, time to fucking go to sleep here.
Yeah, did you know that your eyelids actually have light receptors in them? So, even though you have your eyes closed, you have the ability to kind of see light through as things go along too. So, your body knows when, hey, it's light outside, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting that, keeping a dark room is really important. There's two annoyances that I have. Like, for example, the Whoop band, the charger for the Whoop, I need to move to my bathroom. That's what I was going for. And so it's got to go to my bathroom. And so, I want to move that there because the little green light on there causes an issue. My phone charging has a little light on there. I'm going to tape that with some duct tape or something like that to kind of hide it. But, it's one of those things where I'm trying to get to a quieter room as things go along. So, or a quieter and darker room as things go along with the temperature side and everything else. My wife likes her temperature to be like 70, so that's why I got the whole chili mat thing. If you have the ability to, you lower the temperature down, you probably don't need one of those chili mats or things like that. But it's just one of those things where you try to make a little bit increments, make things a little bit better, a little bit easier. It's
just
for
those
you.
1%. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's just one. It's 1% improvements. Like whether it's get rid of the light, like you said on Whip or whatever it is. Like it's all going to benefit you longer term. I would like to get to the point that I don't have my phone in my room, like charging in a different room, but I just don't think I'm there yet. I think like it takes a special sort of person to have that, like your phone's in a different room, and I don't know what that says about me or other people, but I'm not at the point where I can leave it in a different room.
I'm not either. There's no way. I'm just gonna say it's never gonna happen.
Nope, it's not gonna happen. Nope, fuck that idea.
Like cold showers, not happening. Sorry. Like,
I'm not gonna have a cold shower. My phone's staying in my room, and that's it.
Right. That's it. That is the story. And I'm gonna lift on days where my doctor tells me not to lift. So I got the three things going for me here. For me, running multiple businesses and things like that, there are times where something critical may happen at 2:00 in the morning that I need to be there. So it's only happened like 4 times in my life where I've really needed to be in that type of situation. But at those times, much necessary to be there. So I keep the phone away, and I try not to spend a lot of time on it. If I'm sitting there, but at the same time, it's not one of those things where I'll be removing it anytime soon. I can't bite that bullet. Sorry.
Okay, right.
I get good sleep though, so I'm okay with it.
Yes, true. You're not. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think another point to note is one thing I was looking at, a study with rats and how they were looking at how you can improve your memory from sleep. So they talk about getting sleep before you learn something or whatever it is. And what that does is sort of sets the tone in terms of like it allows your brain to absorb the information. So go to sleep beforehand. I always find that I'm more productive, or I just function better in the moment. So if I have to learn something, write something, read something, that's why I always try and get everybody's check-ins done first thing, because I'm the best version of myself. Whereas if I get to the afternoon, I'm like stuck to the desk like this. So yeah, they basically talk about that, and they talk about the two sides of what your memory is actually doing in there. So throughout the day, what is your hippocampus is, they sort of refer to it as your information inbox. So it's what's taking all the information in throughout the day. I think probably the best way that I can sort of describe this is if you imagine it like a USB stick, like just gathering all the memory. And then if you think about whenever you're asleep, your cortex part of your brain is where that's sort of like, if you imagine that's your hard drive. So there's like what they call I guess it's like a file transfer of, the information that you're taking in throughout the day, transfer the file over the cortex, and it's like in the hard drive, like locked into your memory.
I like that analogy. Look at that. I'm really impressed there, man. You're like making the computer analogies.
I know the audience. It's fine. I get it.
That was good. That was really good. Learn something new every day. And I actually understood that, so that was good.
I don't know the last time I actually had a USB stick, but whatever.
Yeah, hey, I got one right here just in case. You never know when you need one. When you need one, you need one. So
yeah.
It's interesting how our bodies work on everything, right? They are literally one big, massive chemical machine. And optimizing your chemicals, optimizing your body, optimizing your sleep, all of those things are key things for us to be able to function appropriately as we go along in our day to day. And one day of horrible sleep is not going to kill you. But, over time, your body will start to wear down if you're not getting the appropriate sleep to do what you're doing. And, you start getting into rituals, and this is just how I feel, and this is just who I am, and you start feeling like shit the rest of your life. Well, there's probably a reason for that, right? Not taking care of yourself, not taking care of your sleep, not taking care of your nutrition, not taking care of your fitness. Our bodies are designed to be put under stress. Our bodies are designed to build muscle, when we need them. Our bodies are designed to do physical activity. Our bodies react very well to that. Longevity of cardiovascular health and everything else comes along with fitness and training. So, again, I'm not saying I was talking to, there's a group of us that meet once a month. It's a group called Vistage. I think I've mentioned on the podcast a few times, but it's a bunch of CEOs that get together, and we meet once a month just to kind of talk about our businesses and how we're doing and ways that we can improve and get better, challenges that we have that maybe others have gone through. So more of a peer group of just understanding, hey, this is how we run businesses. What can we do to get better?
Is it like the client group, just that we have?
It's just like, very much so.
For business?
Yeah, 100%. Yep, 100%. So, okay. We have the client group. It's obviously from a fitness mindset perspective and community, right? Very similar thing on the CEO side of the house, right? Like-minded individuals, same type of mission, really trying to improve themselves or improve their companies. And I was talking to a couple of the guys yesterday, and I've been obviously getting everybody on the whole fitness kick. So all of their objectives for 2021 was to get fit. So I think like half of them bought tonals and like all this other stuff. And one of the guys, Dusty, was like, he's like, oh man, I'm doing so good. He's like, I'm working out 3 times a week and I feel great. I'm like, dude, that's so awesome. He's like, yeah, I'm just trying to be Dave or whatever. And I'm like, that's great, man. And he's like, so what's your workout regimen looking like nowadays? And I was like, well, I do Orange Theory 3 times a week. I lift 6 days a week. I get 12,000 steps, and I cheat and probably do, an extra lift, for muscles, here and there just for fun. And he's like, damn it, Dave. He's like, now I just feel like shit. I'm like, no, like, don't compare yourself to me. Do not compare yourself to me. Like, that's just me. That's where I've gone to. But 3 times a week is fantastic, right? So, you need to look at it from yourself. If you're getting 3 hours of sleep, and 6.5 hours isn't something that's accomplishable for you, then try to get 4 hours or 5 hours, improve just a little bit and see how your body reacts to it, and start to kind of push yourself forward a little bit and see how you feel. And it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be like, hey, one day I got 6.5 hours of sleep, it should fix all my ailments. But over time, if you do this for, let's just say, a month, you should start to notice a difference in quality, sleep, everything else that's going on.
Can I just point out that that's exactly what you did with because we cut your calories last Friday, and today on the call, you're like, well, I'm fucking lost weight. This is bullshit. Give it some time.
It's funny. I remember when I first started training with you, Ben, and, like we started going into calories. I think I was at maybe 2,400 or 2,300 calories or something like that when we started off with. And I started gaining weight, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? You're like, listen, it's your body taking more protein in, you're, undigested food. You're not gaining 8 pounds in a week. You're fine. Don't sweat it. I'm like, no, I'm like, just hang on. And then the next week, everything balanced out, and then I started losing weight, as soon as after. So I get the patience piece of it. I just, I want that 6-pack and Arnold arms and Thor arms today. So just a little impatient. I figured my
8 years.
What's that?
I've been waiting for 8 years, still haven't got it.
It's every day getting stronger, right? Stronger than yesterday. So, it's just incremental improvements over time, which I like that graph you posted, by the way, around, the incremental increases over time and how that kind of impacts versus not doing anything. Gains. Yes. You should talk about that.
Yeah. So it's actually from Atomic Habits, the book. If anybody hasn't read it, stop what you're doing right now, pause the podcast, go on Amazon and order it, because it literally will change your life in terms of and anything that you're trying to do, how to build new habits, how to get rid of old ones, and just how he explains it so good. If you're an audiobook person, 100% listen to it. I listened to it first and then I bought the book, because there's a lot of visual references which are totally fucking useless whenever you're walking and he's saying refer to figure 1.68 and you're like, all right, I don't know what it is. So get the book, read it. But yeah, basically they talk about, okay, you think about 1% better every day. I'm pretty sure it's, if you think about it, it's 1% better every day equates to 37.8% across the year or something like that. Don't quote me. But you think about it, it's 1%. It doesn't seem like a lot of the time, but over a year, which absolutely flies in. I was putting the date into this earlier on. I was like, holy shit, 24th of November, what the fuck? But a year absolutely flies in if you can just make that sort of promise to yourself to improve that 1% every single day. And it doesn't need to be just in one aspect of your life. If you get 1% better with your nutrition, 1% better with your training, 1% better with your sleep, 1% better with your steps, like all these things built up over time, you'll be unrecognizable in a year's time.
It's interesting. I remember when we first started doing this program, right? And, the toughest part when you first, implement these habits is you expect immediate results, right? You expect to lose weight right away. You expect to get great sleep and everything else is going to fix. This stuff obviously takes time for you to incorporate and to make it a habit. I'll tell you a great example. I have obviously an issue with food because I've been obese my entire life. And you look at when we push these calories up to 3,800 calories, well, I was at 3,900 at one point in time. So I was eating 3,900 calories a day during my bulking phase. And now I'm at 3,200 calories. Now there's a reason for why there's such a vast difference there. One being the training program that I'm in isn't as calorie intensive, because I'm not doing power building or powerlifting as part of that. So, my total daily energy expenditure dropped to probably about 3,500, which means that, to put myself in a 300 calorie deficit, be around 3,300 calories. But you look at me eating 3,800 calories, I got used to eating 3,900 calories. And then to cut out 500 calories from that it's a big deal, And so, you have to make these incremental changes of things that you would eat throughout the day and be mindful of that, because you're going to be burning, at 4 o'clock, you're going to be at 400 calories or 3,200 calories. You're like, oh shit, I can't eat anything for the rest of the day. And then you're starving the rest of the day. Right. So, you have to understand that this stuff that you're doing is going to take time for you to perfect. It's going to take time for you to get on that path to go and do it. And it's the same thing around incremental sleep and what we're talking about in the sleep stuff. Don't do everything we said in this podcast today. Do incremental things. Just try to get some additional sleep. Keep it a little bit cooler. Go take a hot shower before you go to, half hour, an hour before you go to bed to cool you down a little bit. A heated shower to cool you down a little bit. Now, again, that doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. Those things can make a big difference in how you actually react and how your body starts to make changes for the good over time. This stuff does, I remember looking at this is what I'm going to get to is looking at my check-in photos. I think it was like a 6-month period. And I was like, Ben, man, I'm feeling fat. I haven't made any progress. I don't know what you're doing. He's like, well, first of all, look at your measurements. They're off the friggin' charts. Your biceps have grown, your quads have grown, your calves have grown, your waist has shrunk, your hips have shrunk, your shoulders have grown. And let's just take a look really quick at the before and after pictures of when you first started. And I was like, oh shit, like that's a different person, like it is a completely different person between that one month period versus that 6-month period. So, we have to be mindful that these types of changes take some time for us to get accommodated to, and it's not going to be immediate. I will say though, sleep, if you do sleep for a week or 2 weeks, you should start to notice a big difference very quickly. Those are one of the things that has an immediate impact and brain activity, your body's ability to recover, feeling good. All of those things are really important for you to focus on.
Yeah. So the power of tiny gains, it's 1% better every day, is 37.78. So I was close from memory. Like that was pretty good. Must have been getting good sleep that day. One thing that I would like to note, and I actually really enjoy this whenever I'm doing the check-in sheets. Like if I'm looking at your check-in sheets open here in front of me, like this week's check-in is going to be week 60. And for me, I really fucking like that because it's a long period of time, yes, but you recognize at the start that this was going to be a long thing. Do you know what I mean? I have people who are, up to week 80 and whatever else. So all these people that are checking with me, yes, they've worked with me a long time, but they recognize that this is what it actually takes to make change. It's not a fucking 6-week transformation. It's not fucking whatever else, booty buster, whatever. So it is something that sort of will take time, and sort of to circle it back to actionable tips for sleep, because I feel like we did cover all the points, but it was a bit all over the place. Regular time to go to bed, regular time to wake up, temperature of your room, darkness of your room, sleep routine in terms of like an hour and a half before you go to bed, hot shower, hot bath, whatever it is to sort of cool your temperature, which I know that sounds ridiculous, but it definitely works. And limit caffeine early in the afternoon are the sort of actionable points for sleep.
Yep. Temperature is a big deal.
And none of that's a supplement. Like I didn't even mention supplements there. Like that's a whole other avenue that we can talk about.
And honestly, supplements are something that I would not recommend that you start to do from a fixed perspective. I'd fix your sleeping habits
nail those
first
things
and then
first.
try to optimize.
Nail those things first.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm always experimenting with things to try to figure out like how to maximize my body, even if it's a 0.1% differential. Hey, that's 0.1% better, on that side of the house, or things that I'm doing to help out my body recover faster. So, again, don't even do the supplements until you get your sleeping habits and patterns down to pat, and then you want to optimize your sleep. Hey, start, throwing in some L-theanine and some GABA in there to see how you react to it, and if you have better sleep by tracking that. So, and tracking your sleep, by the way, we didn't discuss, but also really important. Using the Aura band or the Aura ring or the Whoop band or your Garmin, this. No, but using those as your kind of benchmarks of how you're getting from a sleep measuring perspective. A lot of the newer beds have HRV tracking and sleep quality tracking. They'll give you sleep scores as you're going through. So really good stuff to kind of keep an eye on to see how your body reacts to certain areas. I've actually found that I have a Sleep Number bed, and you can set the firmness. It uses air to kind of set the firmness of the bed. And I was almost always a very cushiony, like super soft type of person. And so I'd keep my number at a 30, which is super, super, super soft. What I found is that my wife was making fun of me of how low it is, and how hers is like a 70 or 80 or whatever. She likes, like, literally you want to rock on, she like sleeps on rocks is basically what my wife sleeps on from a firmness perspective. But I tried one day, I tried 60, and I noticed my sleep score shot up substantially. And so I kept it on 60 for a little while, and my body actually reacted better to more of a stiff bed than it did a soft bed. So, playing around with those things and those little variables might make a big difference in what you're doing. And just these little things can make a big difference in how you recover, how you feel, your sleep, everything else that goes along with it. So little things that make a big difference. Yeah.
And I think, everything, the points that I just pointed out there, none of them cost any money. Do you know what I mean? It's a case of this is what you can do to help. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to change anything. You just need to go and actually manage your time slightly better and sort of work out what works best for you from a sleep perspective. So hopefully that helps, because a lot of people struggle with sleep, and it is shit, because if you don't have good sleep, the rest of your life is majorly difficult. So if you can improve that, then hopefully you can improve the quality of your life.
Yep.
One thing that we haven't spoken about yet, and it's been about for about 2 or 3 weeks, is fucking got merch. We've got a website for merch.
Yeah, we got merch.
Yeah, we just
got merch. I got my merch too. I got the flag I'm going to hang up today.
Very impressed with the flag. Like,
the flag is really nice.
Yeah, I wasn't. Whenever it was mentioned in the chat, I was like, right, I'll put this together. But mine got delivered there. I was like, yeah, I needed this. I didn't know I needed it.
Yeah,
but I definitely needed it. So the link is in the description. There's a discount code there for anybody who's listening. But yeah, very happy. I actually got a t-shirt delivered.
Oh, my t-shirt is it's shipped. I haven't got it delivered yet. I got the sweatshirt from you that you had sent me for testing. I got the stickers, which I'm still waiting to put on because I haven't got a case yet for my new Mac. And then I got the shirt that should be delivered, and obviously the flag, which is en route. So I'm excited about the merch. It looks really good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, cool.
Good job on that.
Yeah, nailed it. Well, thanks for listening. That was good.
Awesome.
I feel like we actually give some value instead of actually just talking fucking nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, check us out on our Discord, discord.gg/hackingyourhealth. Obviously, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on every possible podcast platform. WeHack.health is our website. Check us out on social media on the WeHackHealth hashtag or the WeHackHealth Twitter account. We're always on there posting good things in the community, sharing their information. Share your experiences, share your successes, share your struggles. That's what we're here for, as one community to help one another out. And that's our mission here at Hacking Your Health Podcast, is to get information out and help you all out with what you're struggling with. So thanks so much for listening today. Appreciate it.
Catch you next week.
Later.